Hola, welcome Italy, and welcome Mr. Michelone, and of course the UNOX team. Joe, how are you? Thank you for interviewing us in Chicago. We are practicing safe distancing, and obviously I think it'd be best interest for everyone so they can hear me. I took off my mask. I appreciate obviously us being safe and careful in this 2020 COVID-19 crisis we're dealing with. Few points I have to make is, again, I really appreciate everything that you guys do from UNOX to Chicago, bottom of my heart. Your team is amazing. You guys are very innovative. You have done a tremendous job through this lockdown to keep us educated and do webinars and focus on new items that you guys are selling. Very good job. Kudos to all of you. Mark, again, appreciate everything that you do for us here in the United States. And Nicola, obviously, you are very well kept in our heart and very close and dear friend, and we appreciate everything that you do from Italy as well. So a few questions I've had in the past from people in the industry. Obviously, we're all dealing with this throughout the globe, and it's reality. It's a new reality. It's the new normal that we have to deal with. COVID-19 is not a joke. We know that it's a serious, healthcare issue. Obviously, following the World Health Organization and the CDC, been following this for quite some time now. Again, trying to educate ourselves not only for our industry and for the benefit of our businesses, but also for our families and our loved ones and everyone that's at home. You got to keep the safe distance. We have to make sure that we're all carrying masks and gloves and sanitizing and washing our hands. Obviously, these are very important facts. But a few things I'd like to point out, and a few things that I would love to kind of push forward in how Chicago and our industry is trying to look at this epidemic and pandemic now. We are trying to focus on how we reopen. Reopening is the biggest thing on the table right now. Obviously, in our industry, healthcare officials, they need to get this under control. If anyone's been doing a lot of reading up on this and obviously just paying attention to all of the organizations and everything that's coming out, all the information, there's a lot of thought processes. We cannot wait for the vaccine for the virus. The best specialists in the world, obviously Germany's working on one. We have some stuff going on in the UK. In the United States, we have obviously a lot of benefits coming in from several different facilities, and then of course, it's a global workforce that's working on a vaccine. Even if we go to push for that vaccine, we're probably not looking until, they're saying, early next year, maybe mid next year. Again, we all know how that goes, because vaccines, sometimes you can produce them and they work, and sometimes you fail and you try again. Moving forward for our industry, it's very important that we all keep a level head. It's very important now in a time of crisis and a time of stress that we are kind to each other, kind to one another, and obviously looking forward to trying to figure out how our industry looks in the next few months to the next few years. COVID's here to stay. It's not going to change anytime soon. I know Chicago's trying to open up, again, restaurants at 25% capacity starting around June 26th. I know there's some skepticism on that. We've had 3 or 4 dates already that have gone and come and passed by. I'm sure this is the same thing that everyone's feeling throughout the world. I think that we have to look at our industry in a few different ways. There's a lot of innovation we can do with technology and how we set up our kitchens moving forward, and using technology to more limit the labor and the amount of space that we need, so that this way we can have safe social distancing in our kitchens. There's creative ways of design. I've talked about different types of smart ceilings that we can offer with Halton, and of course combi ovens with UNOX technology, and certain other items that we can bring into play. There's obviously some technology that we can bring in that will be items that we can still use to either retherm or cook without using all the HVAC that we're used to. But I really want to allude now to how we reopen restaurants that are existing, because to me, right now, the crisis is not our future. The crisis is what we have in front of us. All our restaurateurs throughout the world have been suffering the same pain, that we have to shut down our restaurants, only do curbside pickup, and or only do delivery, whether it's with some type of app that we're using, Grubhub in the United States. Obviously there's Uber Eats or several others, and or delivery from our own facilities. That's great, but let's be honest. Our chef-driven restaurants, our owner-operator restaurants, our restaurant groups, they're not well positioned to do this. They're not able to be profitable. Their real estate value might be more. Their exposure to their overhead is much more. I've talked to several of my colleagues and peers in the industry, a lot of heavy-duty, high-volume restaurateurs in a culinary mecca we call Chicago, and it's the same thought process. We can't run to-go orders. We can't run curbside pickup because we have limited amount of space in our kitchens. Our staff has been trained and positioned so that we have chefs, sous chefs, expediters. Obviously, you have line cooks, then you have prep kitchen, then you have prep cooks, and then you have pastry. All these spaces within our restaurant and what we have designed for are very well efficiently laid out, which means there's not a lot of space to kind of give out, so we can't social distance safely. We can't have 5 guys or 5 girls underneath the hood and trying to put out product. We can't have 3 people on the expediting station. I can't have 3 to 4 servers revolving on a tabletop. It's not going to work. So how do we do this? How do we build this? How do we open our restaurants? We have some thoughts. We've been working very hard here in Chicago with a lot of good and very well informed factory agents. Obviously, health department has been involved. We have a lot of beautiful people that we work with the Illinois Restaurant Association, our restaurateurs, our chef community, and just bouncing back ideas. We're ready to go. We just have to do this right. So focus might have to be right now not remodeling our kitchens, not necessarily taking away tabletops from our dining room spaces, but utilizing what we have existing, but being thoughtful on how we can keep the space social distanced, but yet efficient, so that we can turn as many covers as we can within the safe time frame that we have. The CDC tells us that we have 45 minutes roughly, if we stay in one located space, that we are going to start either taking on the contaminants, whether it's the virus or, obviously bacteria and everything that builds up in situations, the tables that we have to, again, sanitize, the spaces, the chairs. So 45 minutes is a time frame that we have to think about, is what we will have from the time we enter the restaurant to the time we have to check out. That's one of the thought processes we have to look into. I have some ideas for that I'll allude to in a few minutes. The next thing we have to worry about is how do we keep our customers safe? I'm sitting right now on a 4-top, let's say, in a restaurant. Well, how do I not confine us 4 into this tabletop and allow us all to socialize together? Because then we take, whether we have been, again, infected by the virus or not, there's not much that we're going to know at the time. Then we take it back home to our families, we take it back home to our loved ones, our elders, and we're causing the same problem that we're trying to stay away from. And so there's ways to do it if we get methodical and we get really thought process forward, and we look into the right way to do it. There's ways of dividing the table with plexiglass. I've been developing some samples right now with one of our vendors in the Chicagoland area to be able to have easily set up tables with plexiglass that meets simply and gets locked into place, so that the foretop is divided. We still can communicate within each other, but yet we're not contaminating each other with the virus. Also, we are looking into how do we break that down so that we can move people through this process of, 45 minutes possibly from start to finish on our tickets. We have to make it also productive for the kitchen. So how do we limit our menus? How do we think at the chef level that we can work with people like, let's say, Open Table and or Resi, TikTok, and have them work with us so that we can create a 15-minute time frame window that we have to be, all the party has to come into the restaurant so that we're efficient with our seating arrangements, efficient with the time frames, our ticket times, so that we can move people in and out of our buildings without holding them in longer than 45 minutes, to try to comply with the CDC's regulations and rules. So I think what we can do is work with, again, one of these companies or all of them and try to figure out how we can have our seating arrangements set that we have a 15-minute window from 7 p.m. to 7:15 that all our party has to arrive. We will be social distancing, whether it is underneath some type of canopy, within the edifice if there's a lobby, or outside, and again, depending on the weather and the elements, social distance within 6 feet like we're doing right now with our retail locations. And as we're entering the restaurant, our group is together. We enter, we get walked to our table gets seated, we have our plexiglass dividing our table. That now starts the process. Before we even get to the table, I would want to work again with these, whether it's again Talk or Open Table or any, Resi, any one of these people, so we have a prefixed dinner set up. Because we can't have our staff in the back on top of each other. So how can we produce any meal at any time and have such a vast menu and know that we're going to be able to take care of our customers in a timely fashion so that they can be safe? We can't. So we have to limit our menu. We have to put together a prefix dinner that's going to be maybe 3 different items of choice, whether you want to go vegan, you want to do obviously what type of protein you're looking for, salad, whatever that may be on the menu, an appetizer, possibly a dessert. Obviously limit ourselves to maybe 2 drinks maximum during that time frame, so the social element still will be there, but yet we have to be able to protect everyone, including our servers, our staff. So I believe if we work with these people, we work with a time frame, we work with our customers, and we set up a prefix dinner, now that limits our exposure to food. So we can now not have as much food into our walk-in coolers to where we have to worry about, is it going to sell, is it not going to sell, are people going to feel comfortable or not to come in? If we open up, and we open up professionally, and we open up with sneeze guards at different stations, we open up with obviously tables that can be protected, we open up with social distance tables, keep all your tables in place. We're just going to have to rotate. This table gets sat, the table adjacent to it is not being sat. The table a little bit further away can be sat. When I'm ready to close out my dinner with my group, we close out the dinner, we pay, then comes the staff, they unfold the plexiglass, lay it down on the table, sanitize it, flip it, sanitize it, move it over to the other table, set it up, and now the second group that is sitting there waiting within that 15-minute window can easily sit next to us and still be protected, while we then take our time and break down this table, sanitize it. Again, prefix dinners, fast ticket times, 45-minute restrictions, plexiglass absolutely where needed, social distancing within the restaurant, whether we have to do stickers or not, depending on what type of restaurant we have, fast food and or dining, fine dining, depends on what you're looking at. Again, limiting our menus. These are all things that we can think of, we can work together and open our restaurants now, not remodel our restaurants in a time of dire need, in a time of financial influx. There's no way I can go back to my customers and tell them that we're going to remodel your kitchen, We are going to do a smart roof from Halton, which will allow you to actually set up different stations within your same space, redo the plumbing, redo the electrical. We don't have time for that. We need to reopen these businesses. We need to make everyone healthy again. We need to keep protecting our people, the environment, and trying to let the doctors do their work while we still keep the economy moving in the right direction. So these are things that I've been thinking about dearly. Like I said, I'm in the forefront of pushing this forward. We have manufacturers working with us right now, again, for sneeze guards. I think the new kitchen, the new ideas that a dealer needs to think about is, how do I do COVID-19 protection for you first? How do I open you? Let me help you with your sneeze guards. Let me help you with your gloves. Let me help you with your sanitizer. Let me help you with your thermometers, so that we can read temperatures as our employees are walking in. Anything over 100.3 degrees, we have to be concerned. We have to make sure that everything that we do from here on out, we're food service. We're food service. We can do this. We have the knowledge on how to protect people, and we have done it for years. This is not our first rodeo. I think if we really just fine-tune our processes and fine-tune how we accept not only our client, but also our food in the back, can we possibly sanitize everything as it's coming into our building? Can we then, after it's sanitized, break it down, take it into our walk-in cooler, and whether it has to be in an ozone room, whether it's going to be UV lights that again will antimicrobial UV lights that will clear the atmosphere inside the walk-in box to protect our people. These are all things I've communicated very deeply and with a lot of thought with a lot of the manufacturers. These are all things that we're all talking about. But before we get to that point, we really need to focus on how we open our businesses now. I think a lot of this is going to stem on conversations, meetings of people with a lot of experience that can help us decide on what the right way to open is. Also communicating with our local health departments, making sure they understand how we want to open, having procedures set in place so that this way it's professionally approached, and not just comments about how we want to do it, but actual facts on this is what we put together. This is our program. This is how we're going to reopen. And do you accept these rules? We followed as much as we could from the guidelines of the CDC and obviously the World Health Organizations, and we're going to try to comply as best we can to that. Will this work for you? If we don't get those conversations forward, I'm sorry, we're never going to open. And if we don't ever open, we're never going to survive. So these are very important facts. Again, I really do appreciate you guys having us as a part of this, obviously interview and group of conversation with very forward-thinking people. We admire everything that you guys do as a fabricator. UNOX is very dear to my heart and very close to me, not only because you guys are an amazing factory and an amazing facility I've visited a few times, but also really down-to-earth people and always thinking forward on what the next innovation is going to be. And if we're going to innovate at all in the next couple of years to come, I think we really need to figure out how we reopen these restaurants so that we can have restaurants to go to. Thank you again. I love you guys. I really feel from the bottom of my heart for all us in this industry, all of our people that are having a tough time right now. We'll get through this. We'll get through this together. And I'll be damned if I give up until I open up all our restaurants in the city of Chicago and hopefully help the rest of the restaurants in the United States and the world.